So it's the end of 2020, thank goodness, and I am reviewing the year and planning for 2021. So I thought you might like a sneak peek behind the curtain to see what actually worked for me this year so that you can add it to your 2021 plans. So let's get to it.
Welcome to the Course Creators HQ podcast, helping you navigate the latest techniques for creating and marketing online courses. And now, here is your host, Julie Hood.
So welcome to episode 19, all about the 4 things that worked for me in 2020 and what you can use for your planning for 2021. But before I continue, I have to share a couple happy dance moments from this week. You can now ask Alexa to play this podcast for you. Just say, Alexa, play the Course Creators HQ podcast, and she will queue up the next episode for you. So be sure, if you're bored, if you're working on dinner, you need something to fill the space, just have her queue up the next episode by asking Alexa. And then secondly, we passed the 1,000 downloads mark this week, which was such a huge milestone for me, especially as a brand new and very niche podcast. Helping course creators is not something everyone on the planet is interested in. So thank you so much. That wouldn't be possible without you and without your subscriptions. So I appreciate all your support for this podcast. So, okay, on to planning for the year. It turned out that my overall theme for 2020 turned out to be building my network, my community, and my course. And I wish I could tell you that back in December of 2019 that I sat down and said, this is what I'm going to do in 2020. It did not work out that way. Most of these things sort of fell into my lap this year, but they were so incredibly effective and helpful that I wanted to make sure I told you about them so you could plan them into your year. I'd also recommend grabbing your calendar because I've got a lot of dates to give out to you, and I want you to start thinking about which of these are the best to fit into your year and where you could use them. So I'll put all the notes on the show notes at coursecreatorshq.com/19. So all of the dates and the links will be there, but just in case you want to jot some of these down, that's coursecreatorshq.com/19. And then also think about getting on my email list because I generally like to share a lot of these with my subscribers and try to catch you as the dates are coming up. So you can do that at the /19 link also. Okay, so the first of the 4 is that I actually launched this podcast this year. I finally did this. I've been trying to launch a podcast since 2017, and I kept telling myself, I'll be honest with you, I kept saying I didn't have the time to do a podcast. So it ended up that it doesn't take nearly as much time as I thought it would. And in a future episode, I'll talk more about setting up a podcast and how you should do it. But I'll give you just a couple things. The very best way to launch your podcast is to have a deadline and to work with a group of other people. That's what finally got it finished for me. I worked with the Turnkey podcast folks, and they gave us a deadline of August the 18th and said, you are going to launch your podcast with all the other folks in this group, and we're going to support each other and review each other at that time. So it really made me get my act together because I was in this group and had to support everyone else in the group. So the Turnkey podcast folks are fantastic. Doug and Strickland and the whole team are just amazing. And they redo their course launching course every so often, and they're actually going to be doing it pretty soon. So go, if you want to find out more, go to coursecreatorshq.com/19, and I'll have more details about the latest, what's available and what you can do. If you're listening to this week on December 17th and 18th, they're actually doing a free masterclass to introduce you to podcasting and how to build your influence and grow your tribe. So hopefully you can join them for that masterclass. So the very first thing, obviously, was getting this podcast going. I'm so glad I did it. It will be, it's a really fun way to communicate with you. I always have so many things I want to say. And so I love having this platform to share my thoughts with you. So thanks for subscribing and listening to it. Okay, number 2, the other thing I did for my 24-hour course creator program is I offered it 3 different ways this year. So it has a DIY version that you can just grab and do whenever you want to. Set aside an hour a day for 24 days and get your first course done. Or maybe you have a long 3-day weekend that you can spend and get your first course finished. So that's been around for a bit. But what I added this year that's been so fantastic is I did it first as a live event over Memorial Day weekend. So for folks who had 3 days that they wanted to get their course ready, I kind of guided them through the weekend. So we're going to do that again in 2021. Not exactly sure when yet. I'm determining which holiday I want to wrap it around. So we'll have that. And then the second thing I did that also was really helpful was putting it into a format that spread it out over an hour a day for the weekdays. I call this 24-hour course creator daily. And what we do is for 24 days, an hour a day, we went through it as a group. I took this from the podcast launch group, that working together and having a daily check-in would be really helpful for folks. So we're going to do that again on January 11th. So keep that date in mind if you want to work together with some other folks and get some feedback on your course, on what you're doing. It worked really fantastic for helping a group of people go through it together. And then I also raised my prices this year. And part of this was so that I could give a really good commission to my joint venture partners, but the price is up to $497, and it had started really, really low. I think at one point it was the very first version of it was only $20, and then it went up to $97. And then as I've been expanding it and adding more time with me and more coaching around it, it's up to $497. I may raise it even more at some point, but that was really a good step for me in 2020. So something to think about for you in 2021 is, should I raise my course price? So number 3 is that I spoke and attended the Podfest and VidFest events this year. And so I found this incredible new network of really outstanding people. I've gotten some client work out of it. Plus, I found some more joint venture partners. And usually the Podfest and VidFest events are live events. And because of COVID, they had to go online. And I can't even remember, I got some random email that said, hey, apply to be a speaker at our Podfest masterclass. And I'll be honest, I kind of threw the course outline together in just a few minutes, and they picked me to be a speaker back in September. And this has been one of the most fantastic events that I've ever been to, because there is such a focus on the audience and on making sure that the speakers really give you some fantastic training during the events. And I'm so glad, honestly, it's one of the few positives out of the whole coronavirus thing is that the events were online, because I'm not sure if I would have attended if it had been just a live event, because that gets way more complicated. So they are still going to do another online event at the end of February into March. So mark your calendars for February 22nd through March the 5th. And I'll have more information on it going forward. That's for the Podfest Global Summit. There's just some really outstanding training, and you sort of get inspired about what you can do. It's inspiring me for 2021. We are going to try to do some more video live events that came out of VidFest a couple weeks ago. I realize it's another place where I want to be connecting with you all. And then the second date that they have is June 10th through the 13th. And right now that one is planned to be a live event in Orlando, Florida. So if you want to think about adding those, I highly recommend them for the outstanding training that you'll get and the inspiration and the community. We had a really fantastic community going where you could ask all kinds of questions and get lots of feedback. The whole group is very interested in being helpful to each other. So think about doing Podfest and VidFest. And then number 4, the last one, is that I made some really outstanding new friends when I attended the JVology live event. And it sort of started with a 5-day challenge for me that they started, and then they had a follow-up weekend 3-day event. And once again, this was actually supposed to be a live event that had to switch online. And I'm pretty sure I wouldn't have gone to the live event because by the time you pay for airplane and hotel and the time that it takes to do that, as opposed to being able to join the event from home, it was such a no-brainer. And the good news for you is that they are doing 2 more online events, February 17th through the 19th in 2021 and April 20th through the 23rd in 2021. So those will be online JVology live events. And the folks I met have actually turned into some amazing mastermind members, and they're also some of my very best joint venture partners. So it worked so well that I'm actually putting together a new course for you on how to be JV ready and how to set it all up so that you can do joint ventures and have other people promoting your course and selling your course for you. And then they earn a commission on the sale as a part of promoting you. So I can't wait to get that finished up in 2021 and share it with you. But in the meantime, definitely think about the JVology events and how you could possibly fit those into your calendar because they were so helpful. Now, yes, I will mention ahead of time there is some pitching that goes on during that. Like they're going to be offering you ways to move forward with them and get more help from them. And then some of their partners are also pitching. But overall, the part that was really, really helpful is that they do a lot of breakout sessions. And I want to say there were probably, oh my goodness, between 8 and 10 breakout sessions over the weekend. And in each one of those, we were able to introduce ourselves, meet the other people, hear what they had going on, and determine if maybe they were a good fit for us for future follow-up to talk more. So those are my 4 suggestions for 2021. Obviously, they may not all fit into your plans and what you've got going on, but they were really effective for me. So I wanted to make sure I shared them with you so that you could pick 1 or 2 or more and add them to your plans for 2021. So thank you so much for being a part of this podcast and for being a listener. You have made this year so much better. It's been an incredibly tough year. We lost my mother-in-law to coronavirus at the beginning of the pandemic, and also lost my daughter's senior year. And so with all the stuff that everyone has been going through this year, this podcast has been one of the bright spots. So thank you so much for listening and subscribing. I appreciate you, and I hope that you have a fantastic holiday season. We will have a couple more episodes coming, but this is the one that I wanted to talk about planning and what you could be doing for 2021. So thanks for listening. Thanks for subscribing, and have a fantastic week.